So Ghosts of Tabor can be a pretty difficult game, especially if you've never played it before. So in this video, I've compiled basically every single tip or trick I could have possibly thought of into a single video. So whether you're just starting out with the game or you've played it quite a bit, hopefully everyone can learn something new in this video. Before we hop into the video, I just want to give a quick shout out to our 2 tier 4 members on the channel, Legion and Philly. So thank you boys for becoming grand champions. Anyways, let's hop into the tips and tricks. So first, let's take a look at the settings that you should be changing. So first things first, just make sure your height is set correctly. You don't want to be shorter or taller than you actually are. And the next setting that I personally have disabled is the compass. A lot of people have the compass always on their screen, but it's pretty visually annoying. It takes up a lot of your screen and you always have it on your watch anyways. So I recommend turning off the compass unless you're brand new, you want to learn where your extracts are at. You might want to keep it on, but again, it is on your watch anyways, so you do not need it. And the final setting in this first section is the virtual gun stock. I personally use this. I think it's great. It helps you keep your gun kind of aimed forward, and overall it helps you hit your shots better. Obviously, if you have an actual gun stock, you don't need this, but if you don't, then it's pretty nice to have. So scrolling down a bit, the next setting is a complete preference. I personally don't use the full player body that it gives you. I do the hands only. I think it's a lot smoother in general, gameplay wise. You can of course have your whole body enabled, but it kind of gets in the way sometimes. So another small setting is just these show grip and trigger icons. I keep these off because they are annoying. Tells you like where to grip and sometimes has these like HUD indicators that get in the way of your iron sights. So I keep these off. Again, it's completely up to you. And then head-based movement, you definitely want on. This just tracks your movement based on your head position and not your hand. So you definitely want this enabled. And this next one's pretty important. The grip threshold, you want to turn all the way down and then keep the grip release threshold around default, or you can turn it down a bit if you want. This basically just makes it way easier to grab things. You can kind of throw things around and catch them now. Overall, just a lot easier. I recommend changing this one for sure. And then we have the hand pitch rotation. This is 0 by default, but for me personally, I had to turn this down because I felt when I was aiming with my gun, it was pointed too high. So basically by dropping this down a bit, it just lowers the rotation of the gun and it allows you to aim a lot more naturally. And this one doesn't really matter, but the scrolling speed, turn it all the way up. It just allows you to scroll through menus a lot quicker, save you a little bit of time and pain. All right, this next setting is a big one, especially for your Quest 2 players. Make sure you mute your microphone. Putting this to true, make sure it's always muted by default. And if you want to unmute mid-raid, just put your hand over your mouth, just click the A button and it will unmute you. You see it on this watch, it lights up green. That means your mic is on. I hear so many kids just like talking because they don't know their mic's on, and it completely gives away your location, so mute your mic. All right, so next, if you are brand new to the game, just play the tutorial. It tells you a lot about the game, gets you familiar with some of the weapons as well, or even if you're just looking to get your aim a little better, you know, you got shooting targets, we got whole courses where you can breach and clear. I highly recommend using these, especially if you're new. It will help your aim and you will get better. It also just teaches you everything you need to know, because the hideout can be a little difficult if you're new, but it'll teach you how to do things like eat beans and craft ammo and how the backpacks work and all that sort of stuff. All right, this is also really important. Level up your traders. Start with a combination of Spectre and Minty missions, and then eventually I would go for Shiro. But you want Spectre for guns and attachments, and then you want Minty for armor and helmets and stuff like that. Leveling these guys up will make the game like 5 times easier. If you don't know how the traders work, basically you do missions. I recommend doing any missions that are player kills. They give you the most XP, and then you have to spend and sell a cumulative amount in order to reach the next level. So level these guys up. I can make a whole trader guide if you guys need to see that, but that is really important. All right, next is regarding weapons and attachments. So regarding like gear fear, don't have gear fear. Who cares if you lose your stuff? Or if you just really don't want to bring in your kitted gear for some reason, just go to the shop. Look, you can buy an M4 for 3,600 Karunas, and you slap a couple attachments on there. It becomes one of the best guns in the game. Like, weapons are really cheap, and you should definitely be using grips, even on pistols. Slap a grip on a pistol, dude. There's 0 recoil. Like, you should always be using grips. They're not expensive at all. They just delete recoil. All right, next thing is to keep your hideout organized. I know this is probably a problem for a lot of people. Don't just throw shit around and scatter all your stuff in random places. It makes it really difficult to find what you're looking for. Just look how nice it looks when you like stack up all your attachments, and I always know where to look if I need something specific. All right, so let's talk about the different ammo types in the game. So we have 3 different ammos in Tabor. We got full metal jacket or FMJ, then we have tracer rounds and armor piercing. So each of these require different gunpowders that you can either find in raids or buy from Shiro, and these allow you to craft different ammo types. So the FMJ rounds are the standard that come with every single gun. It's super cheap to craft and it works pretty well. But the tracers are not worth it at all. It basically just allows you to see where your bullets are traveling, which is kind of useless, but it is pretty cool. And then armor piercing, of course, will shred through basically any armor in the game, depending on the caliber size. But it makes it way easier to take down geared players, but it is a lot harder to obtain. All right, so regarding the armor in Tabor, there's 5 different chest rigs in the game, offering protection from level 1 to level 4. So the A22 chest rig offers 0 protection. It's a level 1 trader vest, and any caliber in the game will go straight through it. This is only for like storing magazines, grenades, that sort of sort of thing. Then you have the level 2 trader vest, which offers level 1 protection. I actually made a video where I tested all of these vests against different calibers. So this one stops basically all pistol rounds except for the 5.7 and even a few SMG rounds. So next we have the level 3 trader vest, and this one can actually block up to most rifle rounds. I think 7.62 will go through it, but 5.56 is completely stopped. So this vest is actually pretty good for level 3, and it should stop any SMG in the game. Now with armor piercing rounds, that's a different story. Most armor piercing will go through a lot of these vests, but not a lot of people run AP because it's so expensive. So you'll probably be fine. So then we have the trader level 4 armor rig, and this offers, I believe, the exact same protection as level 3. Just gives you a lot more coverage, but it is also a lot more expensive. But it will block the exact same calibers as the previous one. So pretty solid, but probably not worth the big price gap. And finally, we have the level 5 trader armor. This is obviously the best armor in the game. This can block any caliber except for the 50 cal with FMJ. So it is really freaking good. It even has some arm and neck protection. So combo this with a level 5 helmet and you're basically unstoppable unless they shoot you in the arms and the legs. But it is really freaking expensive too, so it's a little harder to get. All right, now let's go over the different helmets in the game. So there's technically 6 different helmets. There's 5 from the traders, and then there's 1 that drops from the boss. So I think how the helmets work is that there's a chance for the bullet to ricochet, and the chance gets higher as that helmet goes up in tier. Because sometimes the level 1 helmet will stop things like a 5.56, and other times it won't even stop a 22. So it can be really weird. So all you really need to know is that the higher the tier of the helmet, the higher the ricochet chance, so the higher the overall protection. Also with level 2 and 3 helmets, they have a night vision slot, so you can actually put night vision goggles on there. And then the level 4 helmet has a face shield that can stop very small calibers occasionally. It's not great, but it sometimes works. And then the level 5 helmet has a slot for an Alton face mask. It's made of complete steel and fiberglass, so this thing stops like any rifle round in the game, but it also obscures your vision so much it makes it impossible to see. And finally, the Mickey mask that drops from the boss is very similar to the Alton, the darker part of the mask being fully metal, and then the white part is a lot less protection. So if you get shot in the face with this helmet, it actually won't really stop much at all, but it is pretty terrifying to see someone wearing this in the depths of missile silo. All right, so regarding night vision, there's 3 different types of night vision in the game. One that you unlock at level 2 minty, level 3 minty, and then level 4 minty. So the level 1 night vision is pretty bad, but it still definitely gives you an advantage on silo. It is really freaking grainy and the quality is complete shit, but it's only 8,000 bucks, so you can't really go wrong. The level 2 night vision is a lot better. Doesn't look amazing on the recording, but if you're actually wearing this on your headset, it's pretty clear. The light level is a lot more balanced. It's a lot clearer picture, and this one is about 18 grand. But if you think that one's good, the level 3 just like knocks it out of the park. This one is crystal clear and the light levels are perfect, so you're not getting blinded by the smallest amount of lights. I'm tempted to wear this in the sunlight. It looks so good, but this is like 50 grand, so it's really expensive. All right, so let's actually finally get into some in-raid tips and some PvP tips that I personally use myself. So starting with the basics, you want to learn where every player spawn is on each map. So anytime you spawn on either silo or island, just remember where you spawned, because other people are going to spawn there in different raids, obviously. So if you can pinpoint where these locations are, you can easily get the jump on people. Half the time they will not see you coming if you just rush their spawn. This is something I do a lot and it always works. And always bring a backpack. They're only 405 Krunos. It's the cheapest little thing in the game. Bring a backpack, even if you're bringing nothing else. Backpack. And some quick insight on guns that you find in raids. I see a lot of people picking up weapons and then they just click. Every time they shoot, they click. Any weapon that you find in a raid that doesn't come from a player or a scav is not chambered. You have to chamber every weapon you pick up. And that being said, if you pick up a dead scav or a dead player's gun, always check your ammo. Pull out the mag, flick your wrist, and depending on how many times it vibrates, out of 3, that's how much ammo you have left. So always watch your ammo levels. I see the most hilarious videos of people just not knowing how guns work and their weapons just click, myself included. I've done it several times. Just check your ammo count. So regarding the basics of loot, there are a bunch of things you can loot in this game. There's filing cabinets, regular cabinets, armor boxes, backpack boxes, helmet boxes, and just a bunch more. Honestly, if it looks lootable, it probably is. And usually in things like lockers, you'll find guns or some loose loot. Armor boxes, you'll of course find armor. Helmet boxes, you'll find of course helmets, and sometimes chest rig pieces like ammo modules or grenade holsters. The big wooden boxes are backpack boxes that usually don't have anything in them, to be honest. Sometimes you'll find a little backpack in there. And then everything else is basically just loose loot. You might find some valuables. Most items in this game are not worth like anything, but keep an eye out for some good items like SSDs, camera lenses, radios, scopes, suppressors, hack tools, power banks, USB sticks, electronic wallets, money stacks, GPUs, car batteries, and a bunch of other items are actually worth a decent amount of money. So unless you're looking for items for a task, don't pick up things like capacitors or nails, or even the journals are only worth like 900. So personally, I don't even pick those items up because they suck. I want money, you know? All right, so some tips for each map. Let's start with Silo. Obviously, some of the best loot in Silo comes from Squeaky, which is the elevator shaft. If you don't know what that is, just make this jump, open these doors. It's really loud. Everyone's gonna hear it. Everyone's gonna come rushing towards you. So either get in and get out, or get in and bunker down and just camp people out. If you're gonna camp people out though, make it look like it's not looted. Like close all the drawers and stuff and just sit in a corner like a rat. But if you go for the more acceptable method and get in and get out, I recommend getting good at this jump right here. Kind of Spider-Man your way out of there so no one kills you. Also pick up any med shot that you come across. These cost over 3 grand just for one of them. So if you can just collect a bunch of these, you'll never have to buy them, and that's a lot of money you can save. Every single one of them has a set spawn on each map. There's a ton of them on Silo scattered around an island. They're usually found in like bathrooms and stuff. So just grab them. Grab all of them. So what are the best places to loot on island to get the absolute most money? Personally, I have 3 locations that I typically visit depending on where I spawn. It'll either be the prison, the facility, or the radio station. These are like the 3 largest buildings on the map, and they have not only a lot of loot, but some pretty good loot as well. That's not to say that other locations don't also have good loot, like the lighthouse, the Church of Fish also has some good loot, but compared to these 3, they're quite a bit worse. We're starting with the prison. If you spawn on this side of the prison, head into this little checkpoint building right here. There's 2 lockers. You'll often find a gun. If you don't find a gun like me, you can open the really loud door, check this box right here, and if you still don't find a gun, then that sucks. I'm sorry. You might want to sprint to this big building. This is the kitchen. You'll find food, water, a bunch of stuff like that here. There's also some lockers over here that you can maybe find a gun in, which looks like I finally did. Then if you head upstairs, there's really nothing on the 2nd floor. There's a keycard room, but you obviously need an orange keycard to get in there. If you go up one more set upstairs, you find this locked door that locks from the outside for some reason. So give that a twist, and sometimes you'll find some guns on the bed. There's always a med shot in here as well. Also, if you didn't know, these wooden doors are completely destructible. So if you shoot the lock, you can swing it open. And if you shoot it enough times, the whole door will just completely come down. And then all the way at the top, like the manager's office or something, occasionally find some decent stuff on this desk here. Of course, there are a bunch of cells that you can loot that typically have some armor boxes or some weapon boxes. You can sometimes get some really good stuff out of them. But just keep in mind, they have swingable doors so people will know that they've been opened. So that's about it for the prison. Next is the big building, the facility. So inside here, there's pretty much loot everywhere. There's a couple spots that have like extra good stuff, such as if you go all the way down the steps like 7 times, it might explode your brain for motion sickness. But head down all these steps, there's a couple decent boxes here that might give you something good. And then on level F2, if you head through here and through this doorway and all the way in the back, there is a whole loot room back here, but there's also a couple scavs typically, so just watch out. And you might get something really good, you might get absolutely nothing. It's just the way of Tabor. All right, so lastly is the radio station. This is a much smaller building than the others, but still has really good loot. There's a lot of cabinets and drawers on the bottom floor, but once you head upstairs, you can find an armor box in this back corner and also a med shot in the bathroom. And then in the radio room, you'll find a bunch of drawers, possibly some loose loot on these shelves and tables. And then once you head into this back room, there's often a keycard spawn here, and then there's another desk you can loot. But once you climb onto the roof, there's usually a scav up here, so be ready for him. Then in this top room, there's a box, 2 lockers, and some loot that spawns on these little shelf thingies. So that's kind of my go-to island run there. So I want to quickly talk about the Fenix, or the Scavs, in Ghosts of Tabor. So the Fenix are AI-controlled enemies that patrol around various areas of each map, and they basically just try to shoot you as long as you're in their sight. In terms of damage and accuracy, they're pretty bad, but their vision is insane. They can see you from like hundreds of feet away, and they will just instantly lock onto you. But on the bright side, they have no armor and not a ton of health, so they're really easy to kill, but they're just kind of annoying. If you try to sneak up on a player and a scav sees you, he's going to instantly start shooting at you. Completely blows your cover, but that means you can also use this to your advantage. If you ever see a scav shooting at someone else, then that instantly gives away their position. You can also just kind of sit back and wait for scavs to target. Basically like a sentry turret. They'll just target enemies, you'll see them target them, and then you'll just go in and get the kill. Easy peasy. Now there is only currently one scav boss in the game, and that is Kurtek. He spawns in 1 or 2 places on Missile Silo. He has a pretty low chance to spawn, but if he does, he'll either be in the back tunnel room or the skylight room near the garage. He usually has like 2 little goons with him that's wearing full armor, level 5 helmets. So I recommend either doming him in the head like 20 times or shoot him in the arms and legs where he's not armored. And if you do kill Kurtek, he'll drop his golden SKS, golden TT, and a Mickey mask. Alright, and last but not least, my tips for PvP in Ghosts of Tabor. First of all, don't trust people, especially British children. They will murder you. They might sound friendly, but they're not. Just shoot them in the head. Next, always check your corners, like every single corner. I guarantee you half the time there will just be a guy where you least expect it. So just Bravo 6 your way around the map and you will never die to a rat. Another big tip is to be listening for footsteps. Footsteps are sometimes like really loud in this game. Other times they're really quiet. If you listen through some walls, like the office and the skull room walls are kind of like connected, You can hear footsteps super easily between them, so you can know exactly where to expect people. Also, of course, be listening for gunshots. Try to pinpoint people's exact locations based off where they're shooting. It's a little difficult with the sound design in this game, but you can obviously be at an extreme advantage if you know exactly where people are at. Also, repositioning is key, especially on missile silo, considering that the whole map is like connected. Use this to your advantage, flank around your enemies, go all the way around the map, and jump out where they least expect it. If you keep repeaking the same angle over and over again, they're just going to keep expecting it, and you're just going to get your head popped. It's just not a great idea. Also, you should always expect there to be another person on a team. If you kill one person, just assume there's another one. Even if there's not, just pretend like there is. Check all the corners, because sometimes when your boy dies, the other boy's just hiding in the corner because he's scared. So always be on the lookout for teammates, and don't get caught looting. If you kill one person, try not to instantly loot them, or if you're going to, just grab their stuff and run away. Don't sit there in the open. You're going to be an easy shot for that sniper sitting 200 meters away. Take your time when aiming at an enemy. Don't just instantly start shooting. Try to set up by some cover in a bush or any other cover, and then wait for a decent time to take the shot. Try to get the jump on them so they don't expect it, and just make sure you're always staying behind some cover, whether it's trees, rocks, or just a hill. You never want to be caught out in the open because you're probably going to die. And bullets can ricochet in this game, so keep that in mind when you're mindlessly spraying at a nearby surface. They might come back and hit you in the face. Also, just because you think you're in cover, you might not actually be. Your player models tends to stick out a little farther than you might think. So be careful when you're crouching down behind rocks. You might still be visible to the enemy. But overall, if you really want to improve, you just got to keep playing the game. Do some training runs. Anything you bring into training runs, you will not lose. So you can practice against scavs, you can practice your map knowledge, or just try going into raids with nothing because you have nothing to lose. So you can usually just practice your mechanics and PvP without the fear of losing anything good. So that was my ultimate guide to Ghosts of Tabor. If you have any important tips that I missed, let me know in the comments. But consider hitting that subscribe button. I hope this video helped you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.